Your rigid processes are killing growth. And I'm about to show you exactly why, plus reveal the one counterintuitive strategy that transformed my business from struggling startup to working with giants like Disney and Sony. But here's the thing, stay with me till the very end of this video because I'm going to share something I've never discussed publicly before. It's the single biggest mistake I made in my first business, well, that cost me everything, and the simple framework that came from that failure that every CEO needs to know. You see, there's this myth that successful businesses run on perfect processes. Complete nonsense. After 4 decades of watching brilliant business leaders tie themselves in knots with their own systems, I can tell you the real secret. Flexibility inside, reliability outside. Let me tell you what I learned selling door to door for Xerox back in the day, and why this connects to the game-changing revelation I'll share at the end. The company had a manual for everything. How to knock, what to say, when to breathe, practically. But you know what? The top performers threw the manual out of the window. They understood something management didn't. As Peter Drucker once said, efficiency is doing things right. Effectiveness is doing the right things. Those rigid processes, they were making us efficiently wrong. Here's what's happening in your business right now, and this directly connects to the costly mistake I'll reveal later. You've built processes that worked when you were smaller, but now they're choking growth like a too tight collar on a growing dog. Your team spends more time following procedures than delivering results. Sound familiar? Keep listening, because the solution I discovered after my biggest failure will change how you think about operations forever. I learned this lesson the hard way, running a telephone marketing business for 5 years, though the real earthquake moment came much earlier, which I'll tell you about in a few minutes. We were generating leads for Lloyds Bank invoice discounting service, and I had this brilliant process mapped out, 17 steps, color-coded, laminated, for crying out loud. Then one day, my best sales rep calls in sick. I gave his leads to another who'd been with us for 3 months, and she completely ignored my 17-step masterpiece. Instead, she focused on one thing, getting the client what they needed. She closed more deals that day than my perfect process had generated all week. And that's when it hit me. I'd been documenting activities instead of outcomes. This connected back to something that happened years earlier, the failure that taught me everything I knew about business. Maya Angelou said, "When we know better, we do better." Well, I was about to learn better the hard way. Here's the framework that emerged from that disaster I'll reveal shortly. Document outcomes, not activities. Create protocols for customer interactions. Maintain consistency through any internal changes. Focus on reliable results over perfect systems. Build reputation through customer success. When I started working with Ernst & Young on their Entrepreneur of the Year awards, they didn't care how many calls I made. They cared about one outcome, getting the right entrepreneurs to apply. So I threw out the traditional recruitment playbook and focused purely on results. We went from struggling to fill categories to having waiting lists. Same team, same budget, completely different approach. Here's what your competition won't tell you. They're probably drowning in their own processes right now. While they're following procedures, you can be delivering results. But the real secret to making this work, that comes from the mistake I'm about to reveal. Let me break this down practically, using the lessons from my greatest failure. First, stop measuring how busy your team is. Start measuring what they accomplish. I learned this building SEO campaigns for major brands. Disney didn't care how many hours we logged. They cared about search rankings. Second, create customer interaction protocols that never change. Response times, communication style, quality standards. These are sacred. Everything else, fair game for experimentation. I remember when I was developing cybersecurity training, a client said, David, we love working with you because we always know what to expect. Now, that's not boring, that's valuable. As Warren Buffett puts it, it takes 20 years to build a reputation, 5 minutes to ruin it. So, third, build buffers between your internal chaos and customer experience. Your team can experiment with new approaches all day long, but your customers should never know you're figuring things out. But here's where most CEOs get it wrong. And it's exactly what I got wrong in that early failure I'm about to share. They try to be perfect everywhere instead of reliable where it matters. All right, here's what I've never talked about publicly. Early in my career, right after my electronics training, I started a business without any money, which sounds romantic until reality hits. I had this perfect plan, perfect processes, perfect timelines. Everything had to be flawless before we'd serve a single customer. 6 months later, I was broke and closing the doors. Meanwhile, my competitors across town were serving customers with what I considered inferior products. But you know what? His customers were happy. His business was growing. His results were reliable. And that failure taught me the most valuable lesson of my business career. Perfect processes kill businesses. Reliable results build empires. Flexibility inside, reliability outside. That failure led to everything. Building multiple tech ventures, working with Fortune 500 companies, helping thousands of business leaders over 4 decades. The lesson: stop perfecting your processes and start perfecting your results. So here's your challenge, straight from my biggest failure. Pick one area where your processes are strangling results. Strip them back to the essential outcome you need. Build flexibility into how you get there, but make the results absolutely reliable. Remember, flexibility inside, reliability outside. Your customers will thank you, your team will thank you, and your bank account will definitely give you a reward. If you want the complete deep dive on this, including the exact framework I use with private equity clients today, I've written extensively about the operations bomb every CEO sits on in this week's Substack. And you can find it over at theauthorityfigure.substack.com. Subscribe while you're there, because there are more game-changing insights where this came from. Until next time, stay flexible inside and reliable outside. And I would add, please seek professional advice for implementing these strategies in your specific business context. The approaches shared are based on my personal experience and may require customization for your unique situation.